Well, welcome back, baseball fans, to the fall 76, 77, 78, 79 carryover league. We are wrapping up the regular season. It's in the books. Stats have been compiled. We're going to sift through this and get a little preparatory video for the playoffs that are coming up. Let's go through the standings. We're going to start in the National League West, where the Astros win the division in a year where the Dodgers and Giants faded. And the Padres were the surprise team that eliminated the Dodgers and also slipped into the postseason. Astros the number 6 seed, Astros were the number 3 seed, Padres the number 6 seed going into the playoffs. Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League Mountain, the only team with a winning record. It's usually the way it happens. One team beats up on the others. It's usually the Rockies or the Diamondbacks. They seem to have a little more talent than the Vegas and Portland teams. And then moving up into the National League North Central, most talented division in baseball. Cincinnati Reds, arguably the best team in it, number 1 seed in the National League, and the Pirates, probably the number 2 best team, have to take a 5 seed, playing in the same division. And the Cardinals folded at the very end. They had a 3 over 500, and they were ahead of the Padres, and they lost to the Pirates and lost that could have had 3 playoff teams in one division, but they don't. So the Pirates, as a wild card, will visit Arizona. And lastly, in the National League East, the Phillies beating up on these other teams. Braves and Mets had a chance in their final series to get to the playoffs and couldn't figure out how to do it, staying pretty mediocre around 500. Now let's go over to the American League East, and Boston has the best record in baseball. They win 20 games, 645 winning percentage, not quite as good as the Reds, but anyway. The only 20-game winner in baseball were the Reds. And in the final series between the Yankees and Orioles, it was a heck of a series. It went 5 games, but the Yankees won Game 5 in Baltimore, 6-5 in 10 innings. And it was a pretty excellent series, excellent game. Orioles just get beat out for a playoff spot. So the Red Sox, they have home field. Yankees slip in and want to mess things up at number 6. We'll see how that plays out. American League North, Cleveland benefits from not being in the American League East anymore. Also benefits in that the Tigers had a slow start and came on at the end, but just to get to 500. And so their only real competition were the 2 other expansion teams who were also around 500. So the Tribe gets themselves a clean division. They are the number 4 seed, though, with the lowest winning percentage of any of the division winners, but they won the division. Cleveland fans, number 4. In the Midwest, Kansas City, this is their heyday. Remember, they go to the playoffs in 76, 7, and 8. And so they should be good. And they really put some distance between the Twins, who was normally the runners-up here, White Sox and Brewers. Brewers are young and improving. The Twins are starting to fade a bit. And the Royals got the number 2 seed. It was interesting that the Brewers, they eliminated the Twins by sweeping them in the penultimate series. Then in the final series, they won a couple games against the Royals, and that was enough to get that 11th loss, and the difference is a half a game. 20-11 to 19-11. The A's did everything they could possibly do to not go to the playoffs. They got rid of most of their pitching staff. No Catfish Hunter, no Vida Blue, no Ken Holtzman, no Darryl Knowles, no Paul Lindblad, no Bob Locker, no nothing. A bunch of young guys like Rick Langford, Macchio, Dan Larson, David Clyde, Bill Atkinson, and Raleigh Fingers is their closer. That's the only guy from the old A's. Still go 18-12, play .600 baseball, even when they're not trying to. And it was the Rangers that seized the moment, the opportunity left by the expansion Mariners and the timid Angels, who can't seem to get their talent to get wins. The Rangers get the 5. So in the wild card round, the Rangers, 5, will visit Cleveland, 4. The Yankees, 6, visit Oakland, 3. These are one-game playoffs. just like Major League Baseball does in the present times, where you play 162 games, then you have one game to determine your season. Here, at least, these teams are only playing about 30 games and have one game to determine their season, at least in the Fall League. Summer League's a lot different. National League, the Padres, get a load of this, folks. They got Randy Jones in the one-game playoff. You can't get any better. For a struggling team just trying to find some, decency, they got one of the best pitchers in baseball in a one-game playoff, possibly as a favorite even, against J.R. Richard and the Houston Astros. And in the other series, Pirates will have number 5, Jim Bibby, visiting the Diamondbacks, number 4, Gary Ross. Forgot to mention the other pitching matchup, but I believe it's going to be Ed Figueroa for the Yankees against Dan Larson for Oakland. Let's take a quick peek at that. Yeah, Yankees are going to send Figueroa against Dan Larson for the Oakland A's. I know you're running the baseball reference to figure out who the heck Dan Larson is. Well, guess what? He's Oakland's number 2 starter. And then Cleveland, Texas will have Steve Comer against Cleveland's Bill Travers. And again, J.R. Richard and Randy Jones, which should be a dandy in the National League West. Jim Bibby, Gary Ross. All right, let's get back to the standings. Time to look at some stats. This is the hitting for this year. And it was the Ohio team who hit 307. And look at all the teams the team batting average is higher than it's ever been. Mostly because there's a lot of 77 cards. 76, 77, 78, 79. There's some real hitting happening. There's a lot of good extra player hitter cards and that sort of thing. Look at this. The worst team in the league was Texas, and they still hit 250. Looking for a team leader in home runs, the Rockies usually come up in this manner, and they have 51. Does that lead all of baseball? It does. RBI leader, 171 for Ohio. That sounds about right. Leaders in stolen base, is it the Padres with 30? Padres and Mets with 30 each. No, wait a minute. The Astros with 54. There's your leader. The Astros with 54 stolen bases. Pitching. Really disappointing that the Orioles could not get into the playoffs, as they led the league in ERA at 3.30. What a shame. And they hit 281, which isn't bad. Puts them in the middle of the pack, though. But still, a 281. There's the Orioles. 281 team. They were 14th in hitting. Anyway, Orioles couldn't make it. Look at these Padres. 3.31 ERA. You know what that is? That's Randy Jones. By the way, and you know what this is for the Orioles? This is Dennis Martinez, who had a magnificent year. As far as look at that. Only 6 teams had ERAs below 4. The league ERA was pretty bad. Look at that. Toronto, 6.21. I can't recall last time a team had an ERA over 6. And the Cubs, yeah, it's really bad. Now let's get to some individual stats. We're going to go up, start in the National League, and see that Bill Madlock hit 400 and 110 at-bats, along with Steve Alnaveros of Portland. No All-Star game in this year. And you see some guys who help teams that are in the playoffs. Ken Griffey, nice year for the Reds. We'll get down to the league MVP a little bit as you scroll down. Mike Vail helps Arizona at 384. You have Mike Schmidt here. Nice year helping the Phillies, 361, 930. But we scroll down a little longer. Here is your National League most valuable player. It's George Foster, the 1977 card, hitting 336 with 13 homers and 36 RBIs. The card itself hits 320, so he's a little bit above that. And with 13 homers and 119 at-bats, that prorates to well over 52 for a full season, which is what he hit. Rookie of the Year. This is a guy whose 79 card was his first card. Now, scrolling down a little bit because the average is a little low, but it's going to be Champ Summers. Perfect Colorado Rocky. Homers, walks, Ks. He had 281, 14, and 29. Led the league in home runs. He's your Rookie of the Year for the National League. And who's in the doghouse for the worst hitting performance? by qualified at-bats, that would be Jerry Terrell, Mike Squires, Joe Ferguson, Larry Herndon. Larry Herndon, by the way, is Roger Freed. When Roger Freed leaves the game with the Roger Freed rules, Herndon has to come in. And that's quite a drop-off right there. Right, let's go to American League hitting. And here is your Major League's leading hitter. Hal Mcrae hit .436. His card, it's .332. Doesn't win the MVP in the American League, though. Should, though. Probably should have, but I guess these numbers were kind of low, so we didn't give it to him. And he was a DH. Another reason not to give it to him. But you have, Ohio had a great year. They couldn't quite make the playoffs. Mitchell Page, the new blood in Oakland, helped them. 17 stolen bases and a .389 batting average leading off. As we scroll down a little bit, we're going to get to the American League's most valuable player. For the #1 seed in the American League, Carlton Fisk is your American League most valuable player, hitting .333. His card, it's .315. He does hit 10 home runs and 26 RBIs, which pretty much at this point is better than any of the guys ahead of him. Pretty darn close to it. And as far as the 10 home runs go, that might lead the American League. And, oh, wait a minute. Oscar Gamble hit 12 for Cleveland, so he led the American League. So there were some good performances here, besides Fisk and Mcrae helping playoff teams. Texas, Mike Hargrove. I think I mentioned he's the heart and soul of the Rangers. He hit .345, .832. That's pretty good. Dick Allen had a nice year for the Yankees. Surprising year for the Yankees. .337, .925. Usually bats 7th or 8th for them. Nettles, .333, .1027. So maybe the Yankees are going to make a run out of this. Let's go to the pitching. And when we go to the pitching, we're going to be stunned to see who the Cy Young is going to be awarded to. In the American League, your Cy Young Award winner and Rookie of the Year are both #4 starters. Dennis Martinez, the #4 starter for the Orioles, won every start, 6-0 with a .164 ERA. He would have had more starts had he been in the ace, but the ace was Jim Palmer, followed by Wayne Garland and Mike Flanagan. 6-0, 6 over 500. No one can even touch that. .164. Nobody else is under 2. He just put it all together. So congratulations, Dennis Martinez, who really never really put it together for the Orioles. He put it together later in his career for the Cleveland Indians and the Montreal Expos. Your Rookie of the Year for the American League is Rick Langford with a 5-2 record, but a .217 ERA, because the A's were supposed to take a dive this year, and they didn't do it because this guy was pitching too good. Along with, I don't know how the A's were winning, but they were winning. So he's your Rookie of the Year. Some other performances, Gaylord Perry also won 6 games. And looking for, the worst pitching performance in qualified number of innings, you got this Jim Wright at .824. That's pretty bad. Looking at saves, Sparky Lyle had 6 with a sterling .106 ERA. Raleigh Fingers, well, there you go. 10 frickin' saves and a .345 ERA for Raleigh Fingers. That's why the A's are still where they are. Mark Littell for the Royals gets 7 saves. That'll help them. Now let's take a peek at the National League pitchers, and then we'll wrap it up here. In the National League, there he is, folks. The reason why these Padres are where they are in the playoffs with their 15 wins is because Randy Jones won every start, won 7 of those 15 games, lead +7, .139 ERA, easily the best pitcher in baseball. Probably should be the most valuable player. But I wasn't going to take the most valuable player away from George Foster when he really has the Reds as a #1 seed with his stick. I don't think there's a 6-game winner in the National League. Bob Welch, he's there. All right, but Ron Reed, nice pitching for Colorado with a 2, and then the ERAs are already up to 3. Look at that. I mean, look at that. You can double Randy Jones' ERA, make it 280, And he'd still be the third best ERA in the National League. That's how good Randy Jones has been, how dominant. And he's pitching in the playoffs in the wild card game. Not a good omen for the Astros. When we look at the closers, who's the worst pitcher here based on ERA? Jim Lomborg had a 9.12 ERA. That's not going to do very well. Bray Burris, 8.01. Jim Cott, 7.63. That's not going to help you out. And for closers, Dave LaRoche on the Arizona Diamondbacks is 8 saves and a 3.50 ERA. They're a playoff division winner. Sam Beto for the Astros, 7 saves, 3.71, division winner. The Pirates are in the playoffs with Rich Gossage, his lone year in Pittsburgh, between Chicago White Sox and New York Yankees. 6 saves and a $1.69. 7 saves for Butch Metzger in St. Louis. Couldn't get to the playoffs, though. And Gene Garber. Well, there you go. I would say that's probably the fireman of the year there. 7 saves and never allowed a run in the 14 innings he pitched. 7 saves. And that is the pitching. We've done the hitting, the pitching, and the playoff seeds. When we resume, we will play Game 1. Will be Oakland hosting the Yankees. Then the next game we'll play will be Texas at Cleveland, which is, they also played in the Summer League, I believe. And then we'll begin the National League with the Pirates and the Diamondbacks, and the final wild card game we'll save Randy Jones for that, since that's the highlight of wild card weekend. If can Randy Jones go 8-0 and knock out, single-handedly win the West and knock out all the teams in the West. That's it tonight from the Carryover League. Hope you're enjoying this. We'll see you when the playoffs begin.